What up, guys? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you learn how to date as your authentic introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm also doing this live on TikTok for the first time ever. So I do have a TikTok. It's at Harry Wilmington, so you can be sure to check that out. Also, if you guys want to support the show and you hear anything on the show that can be helpful to you and think, hey, that was really good, a good tip, feel free to go to my Cash app at Harry Wilmington and leave a monetary thank you. So today we're going to be talking about the 8 tips to attract and keep a feminine woman. And this is actually based on a TikTok video that I found from this guy. I forget his name, but when I show the video, the name will pop up. But he gave some really good tips that I thought would be important for you guys to hear about. And then I want to kind of go further into what it is that he expressed in each of these tips, just to kind of give you guys my insights on what he's talking about. So that's going to be the thrust of the show. As always, guys, this show is ultimately about you. So if there's any comments or questions you guys have during the course of the show, you can ask them in the chat. If you're on TikTok, you can leave it in the chat as well. And I will find time to answer them at some point. Okay. Speaking of that, to start off, before we get into the main thrust of the show, I actually wanted to quickly go and answer a question from a guy that left me a message on my Instagram account, which is Introvert Dating Success. And so I recently did a live where I talked about how to text women when they're out of town. Because this is the Christmas season where women are going to be going on vacation. And if you just started dating a woman, it can be very confusing to know why it is that as much as she likes you, she's suddenly not responding as much or not trying to reach out to you as much. And so part of this is just because it's the holidays, and when women go on vacation, realistically, they want to be where they're at. And sometimes that means they're concentrating more on the people they're around than on you. But it can also be a good read of her interest in you, because women that have reached the threshold of like 80% to 90% like for you will still go on vacation and try to reach out to you, because as much as they enjoy being around their family, they still are thinking about you and want to be near you. So with that said, this guy's question was very simple. He said, so I just finished your video about how to text a girl when she's out of town. So the backstory, I am with this girl for 3 months. And by the way, I tell you guys all the time, on average, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings for you enough to where she wants to be your girlfriend. So by the 3-month mark, she should be in that 80 to 90% range of like for you, to where she wants to be around you all the time and wants to hear from you quite often. But anyway, so he says yesterday she took a trip to the USA. So he's not out of town. Took the trip to the USA with her sister to see her family for 2 weeks. We had a very, very good date the day before she left. And I told her, enjoy your trip. Don't feel restricted to text me, which is good. Like, and by the way, guys, you don't necessarily have to verbalize that. Like, you don't have to say to a woman, hey, you're going to be gone, but if you don't want to text me, that's fine. Like, you don't necessarily have to verbally say that. It's more of like the feeling tone. You want to give her the aura that whether she contacts you or not, you're not going to be bothered. You're going to be totally fine. You're going to be understanding that she's out of town, and that if you hear from her, great. If you don't, it's understandable. But you don't have to necessarily say that verbally to the woman. In this case, he did. Again, doesn't seem to hurt anything, so it's totally fine. Continuing, he says, so he said that thing, and then he says, she texted me when she arrived and asked me how my day went, blah, blah, blah. And I got your video on that topic on YouTube and saw your advice. And my advice, which I said earlier, was that, when she's on vacation, just don't be stressed out. Don't be stressed out if she's not texting you a whole lot. It's Christmas, it's vacation. Your expectation should not be to hear from her. Now, if you happen to hear from her, that's fantastic. But again, I just don't want you guys to get butthurt by these new women that you're dating when they don't suddenly aren't texting you when they're on vacation or out of town. So anyway, he says, so my question is, how can I say your line, quote, enjoy your time with family and going to catch you when you return, without looking weird? Because day before her trip, I was like, text me whenever you have free time. He said, I think your advice is better than my option to text every day. Still need some space for her to miss me and for me to work on myself. And so here's the thing, right? The thing about texting is that ultimately, when a woman starts to have strong like for you, you'll notice she's going to be the one reaching out more than you are, ideally, okay? If you're not the guy that's trying to text her and call her every day, what you'll find is that women of their own accord, they want to be around you and hear from you. They will just naturally start to text you more. And that's absolutely great. Now, in reference to the whole thing about texting her every day, I just need to clarify that. What I mean is that you as the guy should not be initiating text every day. At the point where a woman's 3 months in with you and she likes you a lot, you're going to notice that she's not going to be able to help herself. She's going to want to hear from you every day. And so what that means is more often than not, she's going to be the one reaching out to you on a daily basis. But this does not mean that you have to constantly be texting her back and forth all the time. But it does mean that when she's reaching out, it's perfectly fine to respond to her. You can determine the time frame at which you do respond, and actually knowing how the time frame works is going to be a better way to still give that impression that you're not just easily accessible to talk to all the time, but that you want to hear from her. Perfect example. Let's say she texts you at like 9 a.m. and says, hey man, I had a great time with my family last night. We did such and such activity. It was so fun. And she texts you at 9 o'clock, right? Well, for that first text, you could wait until like 12 o'clock to hit her back and be like, oh, hey, that's so great. I'm glad you're having a good time. You know, what else has been going on? Now, at that point, if you guys have a little bit of back and forth banter, it's totally fine. And it's not going to be seen as you being a try-hard or you being a person that just sat by your phone because you waited 3 hours to respond back to that first text. And at that point, if you respond back to her later on, and then you're doing more back and forth texts that are like, you know, within the span frame of like time of like a minute or two, then that's going to be totally fine. Now, at the same time, as you're doing those texts, recognize that texting in itself is actually a really weird form of communication because there's really it's not like a letter or like when you're in a conversation with somebody in person where you can say, well, I got to go, bye. Texting is one of those things that eventually one of you two have to just stop. Like, because it sounds weird through text to say, well, I got to go now. I'll talk to you later. Bye. That just seems weird. So it's perfectly fine if like you guys are texting back and forth and then she says something like, you know, yeah, man, I'm just having such a great time. I'm so glad to hear from you. At that point, you could just stop the conversation. You could just like not answer back and then like wait till the next day when maybe you find a meme on the internet or something exciting happens to you where you're like, oh, something, whatever. Or you can wait till the next day until she texts you again because women will oftentimes do that. And again, it's just recognizing that texting is a weird form of communication in general. So you don't have to follow the normal rules of ending or starting or stopping. But you also don't want to be the guy that is doing the thing of making the conversation go too long. Like if she starts it, that's great. But at some point, you ideally want to be the one to stop it before she does. So, you know, again, she's texting you or whatever, you're texting back and forth. She says something that seems like it's just kind of like a, you know, emoji or something that's not really something that has to further a conversation. You can just stop and then wait again till the next day to either you find something funny to send her or she decides to text you. But don't think you got to be like a robot of like, you don't have to send her a thing saying, thanks, glad to hear from you, but I'll hear from you more when you get back. Like, we're not trying to completely say to her, like, I don't want to hear from you ever, because we want her to continue the action of hitting you up. The thing is, as the guy, you shouldn't be the one to consistently be trying to initiate with her when she's on vacation, because you ideally should be doing other things in your own environment. And that's more appealing to women. Her having the idea that you're possibly doing other things that are keeping you busy from hearing from her, and then her being able to actually get a response from you, that's going to have more of an effect than her thinking, I mean, he's going to be there when I hit him up whenever. He's always going to be able to answer my text and calls. And that's the thing that can turn women off and actually like cause them to start to lose interest, okay? So that's what I mean. Again, texting is a really weird situation. That's why I tell you guys on average, texting kills attraction. And what I mean is that if you're the one that's consistently initiating text every single time, it starts to get boring, predictable, and eventually she'll start to lose interest. But a woman that's 3 months in with you that has 80 to 90% interest, yeah, you're going to hear from her quite often. It doesn't mean you have to always answer back right away. You can actually have more of an effect by delaying your response a little bit, but you can still respond within the same day and it'd be totally fine. So hopefully, Guy, this answers your question. Now, on to, we got a comment here real quick. Hey, what's up, Chelsea? Glad you're here. That's what's up. So today we're going to be talking about the 8 tips to attract and keep a feminine woman. So I saw this. Let's see if I can find this guy's name real quick. Let's see. Guy with tattoo. His name is Josh Holyfield. Yes. So this guy named Josh Holyfield, he has a TikTok account here on TikTok. Very, very great account. So he's got a lot of good advice on there as well. You know, I'm always, if I find other people that are giving good advice, I have no problem letting you guys know about it. But yeah, this guy had a video that he put up that called 8 tips to attract and keep a feminine woman, more or less. I'm calling it that, but he called it something else. But in the video, he goes over these crucial 8 things that you as a guy should be doing in order to attract a feminine woman and then actually keep her attracted. And I think and this is very important because you might be able to do everything right in the beginning to attract this woman. But what I found is that if you start doing actions that are more feminine in nature, and you're not able to uphold that masculine energy that she was looking for, then it's very easy to actually lose her interest. And I don't want you to do that. So I saw this guy's video and was like, you know what? I got to do a video about his video. So we're going to go ahead and play the first tip that this guy gives about how to keep and attract a feminine woman. For those of you on TikTok, you'll be able to hear it. So let's get into it. Here's the first one.
Brother, if you can follow these 8 rules, you will attract and keep a feminine woman with a genuine burning desire for you, and it will not fade. Number 1, she does not want to be number 1. A man should always place his purpose and meaning in life first. When he places his woman over his purpose, he slides into feminine energy and is viewed by her as weak and needy. A man should choose his wife as a complement to his life, not rely on her as a dependent.
Okay, so you heard him. Do not make your woman the number one cause of all your energy and effort, because the truth of the matter is that women are looking for men that are goal-oriented and that are focused on their careers and focused on what they're trying to chase after, focused on getting money. And that's important because you focusing on those things will allow you to collect the resources that are going to make her feel protected, cared for, well-fed, etc., etc. And this is a mistake that I made back in my 20s when I was just, I was really depressed about myself not being able to get women. And so I was consistently trying to focus on how do I get women? How do I attract them? And it's not that it's bad to study those things, but like if that's your main effort and energy to try to get these women, what you're going to find is that you're going to lose out on women to guys that are actually focusing on getting money, getting resources, getting a house, getting a car. And I was seriously delayed in getting those things in part because I was so down on myself about not getting women, not realizing, hey, dummy, if you get the money, it's like that Lock song. First you get the money, then you get the power, and then people will respect you. So you get your goals, get your money together, get a house, get a car, then it's going to be easier for women to want to follow your leadership and want to be in your life because they're going to see that you have stuff together. But you try to make her number one and trying to focus it solely on her, your energy is going in the wrong direction. And you'll find when you focus on those other things, women come to you, they'll be the ones focusing on, not only focusing on you, but focusing on how to help you, how to be the best woman they can be in your circle. And that's really where you want the woman to be versus you fawning all over her and you making it seem that she's the number one, which is going to cause her to wear the pants in the relationship, which most women do not want. Right? So that was the first one, was do not make her your number one focus. Yes, women are important. And at some point, you're going to want to be able to try to work on getting a woman that's going to be good for family purposes, just a good helpmate. But that shouldn't be your top focus. Your top focus is your goals and your money. And then in the process of getting that stuff, you can say, let me look around and see if there's any women that are interested. All right. All right. With that said, here is the second tip to attracting and keeping a feminine woman. Here we go.
Number 2, your purpose should come before your relationship. When you make your purpose second to your relationship, you cheat your wife from the best man that you can be. A woman wants a leader. Leaders put the survival of the tribe before their own wants and whims. So what that means for you is you should always place your job as a man to protect and provide first, then your relationship.
Again, very, very true. You want to focus on your purpose because when you succeed at your purpose, you put her in a better frame of mind to be able to trust your leadership, to trust that you're going to bring stuff to the table that can keep her protected. And again, all that stuff is very, very important. You focus on your purpose. You let her focus on you. And I know there's a confusion because guys, you might be thinking well, wait, how can I focus on my purpose and then get a woman? And that's the backwards way of thinking. You should be thinking, if I fulfill my purpose, I'll be in a better position to where women out there will see me as a more viable option. And I learned this the hard way because dating in my 30s and now 40s has been a lot easier than it was dating in my 20s. And I couldn't understand why until I realized I have more skill. I've had more success at various things. I have regular, consistent money coming in, whereas in my 20s, it was very sporadic and I didn't know where it was going to come from. And you being sporadic in your life does not make a woman feel that she's going to be safe and secure if she chooses you as a mate. So when you focus on your purpose and you could put that energy into it, the other thing too is that when women see that you're able to actually commit to a purpose and a goal, it'll correlate in parallel with her that you're going to be able to have that same energy to commit and be around for her in the long term versus just you dating her and then possibly like leaving her for somebody else. Okay. So women need to actually see that you're a man that's able to commit to something in your life to give her the confidence to believe that you can also commit to her later. All right. Anyway, here is the third tip to attract and keep a feminine woman.
Number 3, what she wants is not always what she says. A woman will always test your capacity to do what is right. Her trust is created by demonstrating that you as a man have the ability to stand firm in your core values. Regardless of what she says or anybody else, you as a man should always be living in integrity first. Women want a strong man and a leader, not a weak man who succumbs to her wants and whims because of lust.
That's so true. Now, ask yourself, how many times have you been the guy where, let's say you guys are talking about something and you have an opinion about something, and then she has a different opinion, and you're thinking, well, I don't want her to see me in a bad light because I don't agree with what she said, so I'm going to now change my opinion. Or how many times have you been the guy where you're thinking you want to do a certain activity and she starts saying, I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, I don't think that it's possibly safe or whatever. And then your response is, okay, well, we can change the activity to something different. Guys, in those moments, she is testing you. Not even on a conscious level. Sometimes women will just throw out things because they like to verbalize their thoughts and concerns about stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she's looking for you to agree with those thoughts and concerns or suddenly change up your mind. Because again, you're supposed to be the leader. So for example, let's say you want to go ziplining on a vacation. And she says to you, well, I don't know because it seems really unsafe. And I'm not sure because what if I fall, yada, yada, yada. You're thinking that she's saying she wants you to change the activity. All she's doing is she's just now expressing all the verbal diarrhea in her head about the potential risk this has. So if you go back to her and say, babe, I've done ziplining before. It's totally safe. And hey, I'll be near you the whole time. We can even hold hands on the zip line. You're probably going to end up doing the activity that you wanted to do because she's going to read that as, okay, he's confident. He's saying it's safe. So I'll follow his lead on this and just try it out. Versus if you say, oh, you don't want to do ziplining. I mean, I know it can be dangerous. I totally hear you. So let's do something else. Now she's going to think, wait, but he said he wanted to do this other thing. But does he not think that he has the ability to keep me safe on this thing? Like he did it before. Why doesn't he want to do it now? Why is he suddenly changing up? Like this isn't actually what I wanted. And so to his point, sometimes women will say stuff to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they actually want. Sometimes they'll come against you just to be able to see and hear and feel your leadership. And I've had so many women actually say this, that sometimes they'll purposely argue with a guy just to be able to hear him fight back and feel his masculine strength. Now, to you as a guy, that's probably the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your life. But this shows that women want to have examples out there of you being a masculine guy. And one of those things is being able to recognize that just because she's saying something doesn't necessarily mean that that's what she wants and that she wants you to push back against her. She wants you to have a differing opinion. She wants you to be able to say, hey, babe, I know you're feeling kind of nervous about this, but Dave, you be with me. You're going to be protected. You're going to be safe. This is totally fine. And if you're not able to give her that at times, then she's going to start to lose interest. So that's the third tip. Here is the fourth tip to attract and keep a feminine woman.
Number 4, women are not liars. They are emotional. Women say what they feel. They emote. Men, we say what we mean. A woman's words are expressions of what she feels in the moment. We as men should stick to reason, logic, and use emotion as a compass to make sure that we're giving her the security that she needs.
There was a great guy that used to give out dating advice, and he passed away in 2020, but his name was Doc Love. And by the way, Doc Love's stuff, if you go to doclove.com, he has a library full of knowledge that's absolutely brilliant. And it's actually the basis for a lot of the dating advice stuff that you hear from men in particular today. All right. But he had a great saying. He said, women don't lie, men don't listen. And what that means is that when women are saying things, we oftentimes take them literally instead of taking them at emotional. And so sometimes women will say things, but it's really conveying an emotion that maybe they don't actually have the words for. So they're trying to put it out there in a verbal sense. And then us guys are taking it and interpreting it as exactly what they mean. The classic example is when you ask a woman how she's doing, and she says, oh, I'm fine. And you're like, okay, great, she's fine. Let's go on. And you're hearing the words fine and thinking she means fine. But then you're getting upset later when she tells you she was actually upset in the moment. And you're like, but you told me you were fine. Why did you lie to me? Was she lying? Well, if you go by the verbal words that she was saying, it appears like a lie. But did you look at how she said the word fine? Did you look at what her body language is like when she said fine? Was she crying? Was she like slumped over? And women are expecting you to pick up on that, because in woman world, women pick up on that from other women all the time. Women are very great at recognizing that when women say a thing, you got to look at more than what they're saying. And why is that? Because in woman world, they are very accustomed to using passive language, because they know with other women, being verbally direct sometimes can be too harsh, and that other women might take it the wrong way. And so they've learned to communicate on like layers. Like there's the top layer of what they're saying and what's being verbalized, and then the lower levels of what's actually being felt, what's the actual intention behind what they're saying, what's the feeling tone. And so as men, we don't always pick up on that, but that's why when women say things, you as a guy got to ask more questions. Like if she says to you, if you ask her, hey, how are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm fine. You could be like, are you sure? She'll probably say, yeah, I'm okay. And then you can try to read and say, okay, because I'm getting a body read from you that maybe things aren't fine. Like, if you want to talk about it, I'm open for that. Just let me know. Just saying some stuff like that will make her realize that, oh, he's actually getting me on a deeper level. Like I can't just BS with him with these words that I'm saying. He actually wants me to go deeper. And that's the other thing too. A lot of times women will quote unquote lie to you because they don't think you actually want to know what's really going on. Like they don't think you're really ready to handle and hear about what they're feeling or how their day actually was, the stuff that they're going through. Because a lot of guys, that they've probably been with, when they start hearing those things, they're like, oh, that's not a thing, or they start brushing off her emotions. And so maybe she doesn't want to deal with that with you. And so she's thinking, if I just, not give the full thing of what I'm feeling, then it'll be totally fine. But you got to be there for, you got to ask questions and recognize that the surface layer bullcrap is not really what it is. So always assume when women are talking to you and verbalizing things, that is one layer of communication. You got to go at least 2 to 3 other layers deep to really figure out what's actually going on in the moment with her. Because again, she's not lying. She's just speaking in her passive language that she's been taught by years of being a woman and by years of being around other women. And she comes to you thinking that that's going to fly also. And you got to recognize it's not, and know that you got to speak on. And this is why I tell both men and women, that learning how the opposite sex communicates is its own foreign language. And so you got to take a class in that crap. Like I spent years not just talking to women, but reading up on women's communication and learning how they talk the way they do and why they communicate the way they do. And actually, when you do that, you'll start to feel less hurt and confused when you're like, why are women saying this thing and doing another? Like when you actually study up on how women communicate and why, it'll be a lot easier to you, and you'll be less hurt and less confused when these kind of things pop up. Anyway, that was the 4th thing. Here's the 5th tip to attract and keep a feminine woman.
Number 5, her complaint is content-free. The thing your woman is complaining about most oftentimes isn't what she's complaining about. I know, doesn't make sense. Her complaints are reminders that you as a man aren't fulfilling your purpose. Good example. If she feels like you're spending too much time playing video games, it likely means that you're also struggling with your responsibilities in the home or your ability to provide for the family. If you're showing up and doing the things that you should be doing as a man, then she's not going to worry about what it is that you do on that spare time. As a man, your word is your demonstration of your purpose. If you're unable to stand in a place of integrity with your word, your wife sees you as weak.
That's very, very true, guys. So listen, when women come to you and complain about stuff, for one, you got to recognize that because most women don't really like conflict, it's going to probably take her a while to come up with the words that she can say to you in terms of what her complaint is, that's not going to make her overly emotional in the moment. And more importantly, that she feels is not going to trigger you to be extremely mad. But understand that if a woman's coming to you with some kind of complaint, again, you got to go back to it's layers deep. So in the moment, for example, let's say she's saying, hey, I want to talk to you about the fact that you haven't been taking out the trash lately when I've asked you to. You're thinking it's about the trash. But what it's really about is that she's not feeling heard, she's not feeling supported, and she's feeling like she's doing more of the work that then is warranted for her to do because you guys are a partnership team. So if she comes to you and says, hey, so I don't want to make it a big deal, but just I noticed that lately you haven't been really taking out the trash like that. If you come back to her with, what do you mean? I just took the trash out yesterday. And well, you see, I just changed the trash last night. And how can you say blah, 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 blah? Then you're not actually, to her, arguing against the thing that she's actually bothered about. And so this goes back to him saying her complaint is content free. It's never, not that it's sometimes about the actual thing she's talking about, but more often than not, it's really going to a bigger situation, a bigger observation about her behavior that's affecting her, that's potentially affecting the family at large. And so this is why you have to learn to be a guy that's going to be more open to complaints in the relationship. And I'm not saying that you should be dating somebody that's going to be nagging your head off all the time and just complaining nonstop for no reason, but just take your ego out of her complaints. Realistically, we're all human. As good of a job as we try to do as men to try to, keep our woman happy, there's going to be times that we fall short or that our eye's not on the ball for a particular thing that she's going to be bugged about. And we actually need our helpmate and our person that we're with to come to us to point these things out, because one, it's going to make us better. And also, you don't want these kind of things to go unfestered to where she starts building up resentment. Okay. So when she comes to you and she starts complaining, even if you're in the moment thinking, but I took out the trash, blah, 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 you could stop and say, okay, well, I see you're complaining about the trash thing, but like, what else is this about? Like, what is this? What other things is this really hitting on for? Like, are you not feeling like maybe I haven't been supportive, or that I'm not really as there for you as I need to be? Like, what, beyond just the trash stuff, like what's really the deeper issue? Just you asking that question and saying, hey, I recognize you have a complaint and I really want to know what all this is about. For one, that'll make her loosen up a little bit and not be so tight about, like, because women will be like, they'll tell you some stuff and be like, okay, I got to be ready to fight him because he's going to try to fight me back. And you don't want your woman ever to be in that position. You want a woman that's going to think that if I go to him, we can have an open conversation. He's not going to yell at me or throw insults at me. And that's going to allow my complaint to be heard better. And then also don't do the thing of, like, when she comes to complain, don't be the guy that's like, well, you never do this thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, because then that's going to just make it be like, okay, every time I have a legitimate complaint, he's going to try to come back with some stuff that he's going to complain about me, whether it's accurate or not. And this isn't going to make for a woman that's going to want to come to you. But it will make for a woman that's going to build resentment and eventually want to leave you when she realizes that regardless of what her complaint is, you're going to just be the one that's pushing back and saying that you're trying to attack me and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, if you're with a woman that's doing that, I also recommend, like, to really get that fixed, because just like, women don't want to come to us sometimes because we can be held up with our egos and whatnot. Sometimes there are women out there that will also be like, well, I don't do anything wrong and I'm always right and you're the guy and you're always wrong. Don't continue to date those kind of women. They're not good for you. Okay. So that was number 5. Here's the 6th tip to attract and keep a feminine woman.
Number 6, she wants to relax in your leadership. She has to trust that you can lead before she can relax in her feminine space. Women today have layers and layers of masculine defense mechanisms because they haven't been shown by men that they can lead. If you count on your wife to drive the ship, she can never relax in that truly feminine space that she wants to relax into. This doesn't mean that your wife is not capable of making decisions. It means that she would rather not have to. In order for her to feel that she doesn't have to, she has to have a competent man who can stand in that space and lead.
And I've talked about this many, many times before, is that ultimately a woman is looking for you to be the leader. Women rarely want to make decisions. Like, and I still to this day test this sporadically when I'm dating a woman. Like, sporadically, I'll say something like, hey, where do you want to go today for, like, food or whatever? Just because I want to hear her say, I don't know, wherever you want to go. And I'll do this sporadically from time to time, even though I know what the answer is going to be, which is like, they want me to make the decision about where we go. Why? Because women ultimately, they don't want to take on the masculine role. If you really want to attract the feminine woman and then keep her feminine, the number one thing you can do is make all the decisions without asking her. Now, for those of you guys that are, in the 2022s and thinking like, no, women's live and women can make decisions and blah, 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 blah. Just because women now have the right to make decisions doesn't mean that they want to make decisions. Yes, if they're at a job, they will, and they're like the head of a company or whatever like that, by default, they have to make decisions. But even then, if you look, there's meetings. They'll ask people in the meeting, well, what do you think we should do? Let me get your idea about something. Then she'll come to some conclusion, right? So women don't actually want to make decisions. And women, in order to retain their femininity, they want to get with a guy that they can fully trust, that they can trust to lead the relationship and not bring harm to her, to whereby she trusts him so much, she will rarely question his decisions. And that's a great position for you to be in, because you don't want a woman that's going to combat you on your decisions. Like, across the board, you don't want a woman that's bringing masculine energy to the relationship. And if she's fighting you on decisions that you're making, that's what's going to happen. And that's going to also turn her off, because even women that are leaning more towards their masculine because of like their job or just how they were raised or whatever, they're still looking for men that can out masculine their masculine. All right. So this, as a guy, you got to start becoming more comfortable with deciding where you're going to go on dates, where you guys are going to live if you guys decide to get married, how many kids you're going to have, what kind of job you're going to get. Like, these are decisions that she's going to look for you to make, that if she trusts you enough, she's going to assume you can make a good decision of that. And that's going to make her feel more relaxed and allow her to focus now on the feminine side of things in terms of, whether it's caring for the kids or making the house a home with decorating or other things that women just typically in their feminine like to do. Like, as much as women complain today about, guys want a woman that can cook, that's so blah, 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 blah. Well, women that are in their feminine energy love to cook for their families. Or I'll say they love to know that they can provide a certain service to their family that's going to be beneficial. Like my brother's wife, for example, she does not cook at all, but she can decorate the heck out of a household. And she has had their house remodeled like 2 or 3 times now, where she'll call people in. She'll actually work on some of the woodworking stuff. She'll paint the walls. Like, to her, that's her way of being feminine and contributing to the household in a feminine way, is being able to decorate their house. You want a woman that can concentrate on that versus having to concentrate on all the masculine decisions that she'd just rather leave to you. So that was number 6. Here is the 7th tip to attract and keep a feminine woman.
Number 7, she wants the killer in you. Being incapable of violence does not make pacifism a virtue. A man who is capable of violence but has the strength to keep it under control is considered a virtuous man. A man who is not capable of violence is considered a weak man. Don't confuse those two. Your wife doesn't want you to kill, but she needs to know that you can if you need to. Because if she doesn't feel confident that you're capable of doing that, it means that you are unable to protect her and her offspring, which also means that it's very likely that she's going to be the one who has to kill if that event arises.
Now, some of you might watch this and think, but Harry, I don't want to actually fight people or kill people, and that seems a little violent. Well, this isn't saying that you have to actually show proof that you're going to go out and do that. But there are certain things that you need to be doing as a means of showing off your masculine energy and strength that will give her the impression that you're a masculine guy that could potentially know how to protect her. This is why, across the board, women typically like guys that have a little muscle mass on them and don't like guys that are super skinny or out of shape. Now, those kind of guys do get women. So then how are those guys showing that they're masculine? This is where it comes into play of what other traits are you demonstrating during the dating process that gives her the impression that you are actually a masculine guy? Things like being able to make decisions, things like being able to stand up for yourself, things like being able to be confident when you're around her. These things will subconsciously show to a woman, oh, wow, he's a real man because he's not letting me walk all over him, which is good, because if somebody tries to come and threaten us, I don't want that other person to walk all over us. Or, oh, this guy clearly has a job that pays a lot, so he knows he can provide a great house for us because I don't want our babies to die in the cold. There are other things you can show. But the point is that, yeah, for the most part, women like the idea that you can protect them in some capacity. And so this is why women don't go for weak guys or for guys that are using flowery language or guys that are, really anxious or apprehensive about women. Because think about this. If you're anxious and apprehensive around her, how are you going to be when a bigger threat arises between the two of you? The reality is she's looking at this and saying, he's threatened by little old me. He's nervous around little old, lightweight pound me. How am I going to expect this guy to do any kind of protection if we're in a serious, dangerous situation? So this is why you guys need to start being more confident in your abilities as a man to date women, attract them, keep them, and then know what to do in order to keep them in their good graces. If you need help with that, I have a whole program here called the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, which you can check out at introvertdatingsuccess.com. You can get a 2-day free trial, but we got programs in there that'll teach you how to be less anxious, how to be more confident. And yeah, it also wouldn't hurt you to get in the gym or to work out or to do steps or to walk or to do a couple of push-ups every day. The more you can do to stand out to women in general as a masculine guy, the better chance you're going to have at being able to land and keep a woman that is extremely feminine, okay? So just some tips for this guy and for me to you. And now here's the 8th tip to attract and keep a feminine woman.
And lastly, number 8, a man should never betray his intuition or knowledge and change his mind just to please his woman. When you change your mind for her, you make her the tribal leader. If she presents you with new information that changes the circumstances and changes your decisions, then make a new decision based upon that information, not based upon her. A woman doesn't want the masculine responsibility. She wants to trust you to do it.
That's so true, guys. And this is why I say women will test you early on about this, about changing your mind, and about changing your intuition about stuff. Now, to his point, he's right. There's going to be times when, let's say you want to make a decision, and then she comes to you and brings new information to light. That does not mean that you have to outright change your decision, okay? This is why women are called helpmates for a reason. It's because they're designed to be your second eye, to look out to see, what other situations around could potentially make you want to change your decision if only you had new information. But the reality is, at the end of the day, women are still looking for you to make the final decision and are looking for you to have the best intuition possible when making those decisions. So when you come up with a decision or idea, and then she just says one or two things and you just automatically change your mind, it's what he says, you're now making her the tribal leader. It's not making it look like she ultimately is wearing the pants in the family. The problem is most women don't want that responsibility, because as much as women will try to say they want to be on an equal footing with men, the reality is there are decisions and situations that come into men's lives that women would never want to actually deal with. But if you're not the kind of guy that can stick to what he means and what he says, and the kind of guy that can't make a decision without, seeing what she says and then changing it up, then she's not going to trust that. But again, if she comes to you and says, let's say, for example, you guys want to go, you're saying you want to go to the mountains to ski. And she's thinking, well, that is snowy, it's dangerous. Well, let's say she comes to you and says, hey, so, I know you want to do the skiing thing. I just saw a news report that says there's been an influx of killer bears in the area this week. So maybe this isn't a good time to go. Well, if she says that to you, and then you go look at what she's talking about, she sends you an article, you look at it and you're reading up and you're like, oh, there's these killer bears here. You know what? Based on this new information, I could see how this would be a bad idea. So we'll still go skiing, but either a different location or a different time. But thanks for that information. That's going to be better than if she says, hey, so about the skiing thing, I don't want to go because it might be dangerous. And then you saying, oh, you're right, let's not go. And you're basing your decision now on her emotional feeling about the situation versus her bringing actual stuff to the plate that shows that this might not be a good idea, okay? So you got to follow your intuition, guys, and she's going to look to you and what your intuition is and trust that it's good enough to where she can follow it as well. So to recap all this, the 8 tips to attract and keep a feminine woman. 1, don't make her your number 1 priority. You make your goals and stuff that. Number 2, your purpose should always come first. Number 3, what she wants is not always what she says. Number 4, women are not liars. Again, women don't lie. It's that men don't listen. Learn to look layers deep when talking to women about stuff. Number 5, her complaint is content free. Look below the layers to see when she's complaining to you, what she's actually meaning emotionally and about the situation before you just go off on her. Number 6, she wants to relax in your leadership, so learn to be a more effective leader. Number 7, she wants the killer in you, so learn how to show and display that you can be that guy that can be a protector for her. And number 8, never betray your intuition. Guys, if you do this stuff, you will find that feminine woman that is going to be down to be around you and ultimately keep you around long term, all right? So hopefully, guys, this helps you all out. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. For those of you on TikTok, you can find 400 of these videos at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Harry Wilmington. Also, feel free to check out the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy. It is the Netflix of dating advice. It's hundreds of hours full of various programs, audios, ebooks, and other advice that is designed to help you to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Again, you get a 2-day free trial just for checking it out. If you found this information to be helpful, feel free to send me a monetary thank you on my Cash App at Harry Wilmington. And also, if you want one-on-one coaching, you can reach me at the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. Just click on the coaching tab, and we can set up a one-on-one coaching call with yours truly. Thank you all for watching. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh,